On my 64th birthday, something happened that broke me in a way I never saw coming. My oldest grandson, Jacob, 19 years old, full of attitude, stood up and slapped me across the face. Just like that. And the worst part? No one said a word. Not my daughter Rachel. Not her drunk husband Mark. Not even the younger grandkids. They just sat there, staring down at their plates like nothing had happened. I was holding a paper plate with a slice of carrot cake I couldn't even eat because I'm allergic to it. And in my pocket was a $10 lottery ticket I'd bought earlier that morning, my little birthday treat. I stood there stunned, wondering when exactly I stopped being someone they cared about. When did I become invisible? That night, I quietly walked out of the house, didn't say goodbye. No one stopped me. By morning, I scratched off that lottery ticket, and it turned out I'd won $5 million just like that. And no one knew. I didn't go back. I didn't call. Instead, I reached out to the only person they'd pushed away even harder than me, Lily, Jacob's ex-wife. A single mom with a little kid, barely making it, but full of hope. She was the only one who ever looked me in the eye and said thank you, like she truly meant it. Now Jacob regrets everything. Rachel wishes she'd spoken up. But me, I've never been more silent, and I've never felt more powerful. Before we keep going, hit that like and subscribe button, and tell me in the comments, what's one life lesson you think everyone should hear before it's too late? That morning, I turned 64 with low expectations. I didn't expect balloons or hugs or gifts, but I also didn't expect to feel like I didn't matter at all. When I arrived, the table was already set. Plastic forks, soggy potato salad, and a store-bought carrot cake. Again, I'm allergic. They even spelled my name wrong on a cheap birthday banner. Jacob was slouched in a patio chair, puffing on his vape like it was the only air he had. He didn't even bother to say hi. Rachel, my daughter, kept busy with the decorations, doing everything she could to avoid looking at her drunk husband, who was already on his second or third beer. I had brought a tray of deviled eggs I'd made that morning, but no one touched them. I smiled anyway, trying to keep my hopes low and just get through the day. Maybe I could scrape the frosting off the cake and pretend it was enough. That hope lasted about 10 minutes. Jacob started yelling at his little brother over some video game nonsense. I gently stepped in and said, "Let's just keep the peace. Today, it's my birthday." That's all I said. But he snapped. He got up, got in my face, and said, "You always act like you're in charge. You're not anymore." I didn't even have time to react. He slapped me, right there. A full-on, open-hand slap. Not a joke, not a mistake. My plastic fork fell to the ground. My cheek burned hot. I looked around the table, hoping someone, anyone, would say something. But no one did. Rachel went pale but kept quiet. Her husband just reached for another beer. The other kids stared at their plates like they hadn't seen a thing. No one asked if I was okay. No one told Jacob to stop. I stood there, holding that paper plate while the carrot cake started sliding off the side. It felt like time froze, and all I could feel was this deep, sharp ache in my chest, like I couldn't even breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I quietly set the plate down, reached into my apron pocket for that scratch-off ticket, and slipped it into my purse. I said, "I'm going to lie down," and walked inside. I went to the guest room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to make sense of it all. My cheek throbbed. My heart hurt even more. I waited. Maybe someone would knock. Maybe someone would check on me. But no one did. After an hour, I picked up my purse, walked out the front door, and didn't look back. My car was parked 2 blocks away. I got in, started the engine, and just drove. I kept going until I saw a cheap motel with a flickering vacancy sign. I paid cash, checked in, locked the door, and sat on the bed with my purse in my lap. I pulled out the ticket, still unscratched. My hands were shaking, but I dug out a quarter from my keychain and slowly scraped the silver coating away. I had to blink a few times to believe it. $5 million. I didn't scream. I didn't jump for joy. I just let out one low, bitter laugh. And then I cried. Really cried. The kind of cry where your whole body shakes and you can't even see through the tears. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about what that win proved. It proved that I didn't matter to them anymore. Maybe I hadn't for a long time. But now, for the first time in years, maybe I could matter to myself. That night, I tried to sleep, but the motel bed felt stiff and scratchy, and the sheets smelled like bleach. The air conditioner rattled so loudly, it drowned out my own thoughts, which, honestly, was kind of a blessing. I couldn't stop staring at that lottery ticket on the nightstand, half expecting the numbers to disappear, like it would suddenly turn back into just another useless scratch-off I'd bought on some lonely afternoon. But it didn't. It was. Still there. Still real. Still mine. $5 million. And all I felt was tired. I kept thinking about Jacob's face right after he slapped me. How empty it looked, like I was just in his way, not his grandmother. Just some annoying thing standing between him and whatever he wanted. But worse than his face were all the others. Rachel's silence. The way her husband just turned away like it was some small inconvenience. I kept going over it in my head, again and again, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, trying to find the moment I might have deserved it. But no matter how many times I turned that memory over, the truth stayed the same. I didn't matter to them anymore. I wasn't Grandma. I wasn't Ellie. I wasn't Mom. I was just furniture, background noise in their busy lives. The next morning, I walked down to the motel lobby and grabbed a free coffee in one of those paper cups. I sat by the window, looked outside at nothing in particular, and wrote a note on the back of a takeout menu. It said, "Don't call, I'm not lost, I'm done, I'll be safe. Don't come looking, I don't want to be found." I didn't sign it, just folded it up and mailed it to Rachel's house from the gas station next door. Then I called the lottery office. I didn't want any big check, no smiling photo with strangers, none of that. I asked if I could claim it without anyone knowing. Set up a trust. The woman on the phone said, "We get that more than you'd think." I told her, I doubt that. After that, I drove 2 towns over, bought a cheap phone and a basic laptop, and checked into a different motel under the name Louise Carey, my mother's maiden name. I wasn't scared. I felt like I'd finally walked off stage in the middle of a bad play I should have left years ago. 4 days later, the money hit the trust account. I moved half of it into a brand new bank account through the LLC the lottery lawyer set up. Just like that, I wasn't broke anymore. But I didn't feel rich either, not in the ways that count. I ate peanut butter crackers in that little room and watched reruns of courtroom shows, wondering if Rachel had read my note. Wondering if she cried, if Jacob even noticed I was gone. Then, on the 5th day, something shifted. I was scrolling through Instagram on the new phone, tapping through random bakery pages, something I used to dream about doing myself, way back. When the kids were small, before my husband got sick, before bills piled up and life became all about just getting by. That's when I saw her. Lily, Jacob's ex-wife. She was in a tiny kitchen covered in flour, holding up a tray of blueberry scones with a tired but proud little smile. The caption said, "Still just dreaming, flowers cheaper than hope." I stared at that photo for a long time. Lily had always been kind to me. She used to call me Miss Ellie, even after the divorce. She brought me chamomile tea when I had migraines, and when she and Jacob split, no one even told me. She just disappeared, like she'd never existed. I clicked on her profile, single mom, part-time line cook, still posting sketches of the bakery she wanted to open one day. And for the first time since I left, I felt something close to clarity. Not revenge, not anger. Something better, like justice. I opened the messages and typed, "You still want to bake?" Then I deleted it, typed it again, and finally hit send. I didn't expect her to reply. Who answers a random message like that from an unknown number? But just sending that question out into the world lit a little spark inside me. Something. Hopeful. I kept checking her page, refreshing, waiting. 2 days later, she wrote back, "Who is this?" My heart thumped like I was doing something wrong. I stared at the screen, then typed, "Ellie, Jacob's grandmother. I'm safe. I have something I want to talk to you about, if you're still in Savannah." Another day passed. Then she replied, "You're serious?" "I am," I wrote back. She sent the name of a small cafe near her apartment and told me to meet her there Thursday at 3. I got there at 2:40. My hands were shaking so bad I spilled a little of my tea on the table before she even walked in. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was pulled back tight, and the shadows under her eyes told a story all their own. She was carrying a sleeping toddler, Mia, I assumed, though I'd never met her. Lily looked at me for a second, like she wasn't sure if she should sit down. I said, "It's really me." And just like that, her shoulders dropped, like she'd been holding up the sky for years and finally got to let it go. She slid into the seat across from me, gently laid Mia down in the booth and asked, "What happened?" So I told her. Not the polished version, not the edited one. I told her everything. The slap, the silence that followed, the motel room, the lottery ticket, the $5 million. Her eyes widened at that, then narrowed. She didn't interrupt. Once. When I finished, she asked softly, "Why me?" I told her the truth, because she had always treated me like a human being, not some family duty to tolerate. Because I remembered how she'd made soup and left it on my porch when I had COVID, even after Jacob told her not to. Because she used to talk about her dream bakery like it was a real place and draw menus for it just for fun. "I want to help you build it," I said. "You've got the talent. I've got the funds." Her lip trembled. She looked away like she couldn't let herself believe it. Then she asked, "What's the catch?" "There isn't one," I said. "I just want to do something good, with someone good." She didn't cry right then, but I did. Quietly, behind my teacup, while little Mia snored softly beside us in the booth. We agreed to talk again in 2 days, to go over logistics, possible names, locations. And when I left that cafe, I didn't walk out. I floated. For the first time since I left Charleston, I felt like I had a direction. Back at the motel, I pulled out the laptop and started making a plan. LLC structure, initial investment, local permits. I even found an old, worn-down storefront on a corner just 2 blocks from a middle school. Cheap rent, big kitchen. The next day, the Lottery Trust's attorney called to go over distribution timelines. I told him, "I've got a plan now, a real one." That night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, looked at my reflection. No makeup, sagging skin, gray roots showing, and whispered, "You're not done." And for the first time, I believed it. I didn't know then about the mess that was coming, the gossip, the lies Jacob would spread, but I already knew one thing as clear as day. Lily deserved a rise. And so did I. 2 days later, we met again, this time at a little diner near Lily's apartment. Mia was wide awake now, chewing on a jelly packet while we sat across from each other like 2 women trying to rebuild a world from broken pieces. Lily brought a spiral notebook with her, full of bakery sketches and menu ideas, some of them so scribbled I had to squint to make them out. Things like honey salt rolls and brown butter church cake. She looked nervous, like if she let herself believe in this too much, it would all disappear. And I understood that feeling better than anyone. I'd spent most of my life bracing for disappointment. I told her about the storefront I'd found. It used to be a dry cleaner, big back room perfect for ovens, walkable corner with a school nearby and a community center around the block. She asked me 5 times if I was sure, if I really wanted to put this much money into it, and I told her the truth again. This isn't charity, I said. It's correction. I didn't tell her everything, how Rachel used to call her too sensitive, or how Jacob used to say she wasn't smart enough to run anything. Lily already knew. I saw it in the way she moved, carefully, like someone who'd been told they were both too much and not enough all at once. We named the bakery Second Rise that afternoon, her idea. She said it was about dough, sure, but also about us, about people who'd been pushed down and got back up anyway. I didn't cry this time. I just smiled, so hard my cheeks hurt. Over the next few days, things moved fast. We hired a contractor to gut the space, met with a permit officer who recognized me from the grocery store I used to work at. He didn't say anything, but I could tell he was trying to place me. We bought used equipment from a closing cafe, paid the lease in cash, and Lily started testing recipes in her tiny apartment kitchen, baking till 2 a.m. some nights, while Mia napped on a flour-dusted blanket beside her. I spent hours learning how to manage payroll, handle insurance, source from local farmers markets, things I never thought I'd care about at 64. And now, I clung to them like oxygen. Because the more we built, the more alive I felt. I didn't just pour money into a bakery, I was part of every little thing, testing how much cinnamon went into the braided buns, giving my opinion on the signs, even helping choose chairs. This wasn't just about opening a shop. It was about taking back a piece of myself that had been lost for years, the feeling that I mattered. One night, I found Lily asleep at the counter, her face resting among flour and sticky notes. I looked at her and it hit me. She was never the problem. They were. This bakery wasn't just about pastries. It was about standing tall, about creating something beautiful not out of revenge, but in spite of everything we'd been through. I remember watching little Mia wobble across the unfinished tile floor, clapping her hands, while Lily slept with the tiniest smile on her face. That's when I realized I hadn't thought about Jacob in over a week. No calls from him. Nothing. From Rachel either. Maybe they didn't even notice I was still gone. Maybe they did. But for the first time, it didn't matter. Because I had found something better than being needed. I had found what it felt like to be wanted. The day we hung, the sign, a simple wooden plank with hand-painted gold letters that said Second Rise, something inside me just clicked. Like I'd been putting together a puzzle my whole life without even realizing it. We stood on the sidewalk in silence, Lily holding Mia on her hip, me still carrying a paint-stained rag in my pocket. It wasn't fancy, not polished like those big chain stores nearby, but it felt right. It felt like it belonged there, like we belonged there. Inside, the air smelled like yeast and burnt sugar. One corner of the floor was still sticky, but it already felt like home. Lily worked magic in that kitchen on a shoestring budget. She stayed up late, using tricks she'd learned in greasy diners, and we spent hours testing muffins until our tongues were numb. We argued about how much cinnamon was too much, and we spent entire afternoons just trying to get the crust perfect on her sweet tea pie. I figured out the register system, ordered uniforms 3 sizes too big just to be safe, and fixed a leaky sink using a pawn shop wrench and a YouTube tutorial. It was all hard work, but not the kind that wears you down. It filled us up. It gave our days meaning. Mia became our little mascot. She'd run around wearing a tiny apron that said, Flower Boss, handing out pretend cookies to customers while they waited for real ones. For our soft opening, we didn't do any big announcements. We just opened the doors one Saturday and hoped someone would walk in. And they did. Not a huge crowd, but enough to feel like we were seen. A man from the community center came in for a coffee and left with 2 pecan bars. A nurse from the clinic down the street took a photo of our chalkboard sign and posted it on Facebook. Soon, People started showing up saying, "My coworker told me about you," or "I saw you on my friend's page." Word spread. Every time someone took a bite and smiled or told Lily, "This tastes like home," something deep in me stirred. It wasn't pain, not pride either. It was older than that, something like healing. We kept it simple in the beginning. Just 3 menu items, cash only, no fancy logos, just good food and kind faces. And every night, after closing, I'd sit in the back with a cup of tea and feel a calm I'd never known, not even when my kids were little and needed me for everything. This calm came from being chosen, from being truly wanted. I stayed out of the spotlight. No photos of me. No one knew where the money came from. This was Lily's story. And honestly, that was enough. I got to watch her grow into herself, strong, sure, laughing like I'd never seen before. And I thought, maybe this is what motherhood should have felt like. One night, after we closed up, Lily and I sat outside on old milk crates, passing a cheap bottle of wine between us. She looked at me and asked, "Do you think they miss you?" I didn't have to ask who she meant. I looked up at the dark sky, watching a plane blink across it, and said, "Maybe, but they don't get to see this version of me. Only you do." She nodded, and we clinked our plastic cups like it meant something. And you know what? It did. It was a regular Wednesday morning when everything changed. Not with a loud crash or some big scene, just with 3 little buzzes from Lily's phone. She was putting croissants into the warmer when it happened. She paused, checked her screen, then slowly looked up at me. Her face was tight, serious. I knew something was wrong. "Someone posted about us," she said. "A food blog." Right away, my stomach dropped. She hadn't even shown me the screen yet, but I felt it coming. It wasn't a huge blog, just a local foodie account with around 10,000 followers, but there I was, in the background of a photo from our soft launch, blurry, half-turned, head down, holding a tray of muffins by the back door. The post talked about how good our pecan bars were and shared a bit of Lily's story. She'd spoken to the blogger last week but hadn't expected them to post pictures, definitely not of me. I tried to stay calm, told myself, no one will recognize me from that angle. But deep down, I knew better. Jacob would know. And I was right. A few hours later, Jacob messaged our bakery's Instagram account. He wanted to talk to me. His message was cold and angry. "I know she's with you," he wrote. "This is sick. What is she doing with you? What is this twisted little project?" Lily showed me right away, her hands shaking, jaw tight. "I'm blocking him," she said. But I told her, "Not yet. Let's wait. Let's see what he does." I don't even know why I said that. Maybe a tiny part of me still hoped he'd apologize, or maybe I just wanted to see how far he'd go. He didn't take long. By Friday, my daughter Rachel had called the bakery 5 times in one afternoon, left 2 voicemails. The first started with, "Mom, is this you?" and ended with, "You can't just disappear like this. What are you doing?" I couldn't call her back, not yet. Not while the pain was still fresh, still raw. I told Lily I'd deal with it, but for now, we had croissants to prep, regulars to greet, and bills to sort. We had a bakery to run. That night after closing, I went back to the motel. I pulled out my old laptop, the cheap one I'd been using, and for the first time, I searched my own name. There wasn't much at first, just some public records, old job listings. But then I saw something new. Someone had posted on Facebook. A girl who used to date Jacob. I barely even knew her. She had shared a picture and written, "Y'all seen this? Pretty sure that's Jacob's grandma at that new bakery in Savannah, the one who vanished after he slapped her." The post had likes, shares, comments. She rich now or something? Didn't she win the lottery? Wait, he slapped her? I stared at the screen until my eyes stung. I wanted to smash the laptop into the wall, but I didn't. I just closed it, sat there in the dark, and listened to the low hum of the motel fridge. The next morning, I told Lily, "We need to get ahead of this." "I'm not hiding anymore," I said, "but I'm not explaining myself either, not to people who don't deserve answers." She nodded. We agreed. No press, no interviews. No more photos of me. Just keep baking. Let the food speak for us. But Jacob wasn't done. A week later, he showed up in person. Drove all the way from Charleston in a beat-up white car, missing hubcaps, and started pacing outside the bakery, like he was waiting to pounce. Lily saw him through the window. She locked the door, closed the shades, and called the police right away. He didn't try to break in, just stood there, muttering into his phone. Then he sped off so fast, he knocked over our sandwich board. When I stepped outside afterward, the air smelled like burnt rubber, and something else I couldn't quite name. I bent down and saw that someone had scribbled on the chalkboard with a black Sharpie. She abandoned her family for this. I didn't cry. I just wiped it off, stood up, and walked back inside. Lily was holding Mia close, whispering, "It's okay, baby, it's okay," over and over. That night, as I swept flour from the corners and locked up, I realized it wasn't just about a photo or a blog post. This was a crack in the dam. My old life had caught up to me, and it wasn't letting go without a fight. Only 4 days after Jacob showed up, he went on a podcast, just some small-time show out of Charleston, hosted by a buddy of his who used to bartend. The podcast was called Family Truths Unfiltered, and suddenly my name was out there. My name, my story, was being dragged through a podcast mic by someone who hadn't even called me grandma since he was 15. Lily found it first. Her hand trembled as she held out her phone, playing a clip for me. Jacob's voice poured out, calm at first, then cracking in just the right places to sound heartbroken, not bitter. "I just don't understand how someone could win that kind of money and abandon their family," he said. "She raised us, and then she disappears, and now she's funding my ex-wife's revenge bakery." The host laughed. "Damn, man, that's wild." Jacob kept going. "I loved her, I really did. I used to call her every week, picked her up from the pharmacy, helped her with bills." Lies, every word. I was the one who gave him gas money. I paid for groceries when his card bounced. I sat outside the DMV at 6 in the morning so he wouldn't have to wait in line. But on that podcast, I was some bitter ghost with a winning ticket and a grudge. And Lily? She was the wicked mastermind, twisting me against my own grandson. I didn't cry. I didn't even get angry. I just felt hollow, like he'd taken a scalpel to my memories and cut out everything that didn't serve his version of the story. And people believed him. The clip spread online. It was easy to share, easy to judge. Suddenly, our bakery's page was flooded with nasty messages. "Shame on you. Hope karma finds you. She's just using you for attention." I wanted to delete them all. I wanted to scream the truth until someone, anyone, believed me. But Lily stopped me. "Let them scream," she said. "We keep serving." So we did. But something in me had changed. Every time I kneaded dough, my hands clenched just a little tighter. Every smile I gave a customer had to fight through the fog. The worst part? Rachel. She left a voicemail, quiet, broken. I heard it. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Call me. Please." And I almost did. I almost hit redial just to tell her the truth. That Jacob was lying, that he was spinning gold out of straw and burying me beneath it. But then I remembered my last birthday, the look on Rachel's face, frozen, expressionless, how she didn't flinch when I was hit, didn't say a word, didn't even touch the phone as it rang on the counter, so I didn't call. Instead, I did the one thing that still made sense. I baked. I scrubbed pans. I taught Mia how to fold napkins and laughed every time she got it wrong and burst into giggles. I stood beside Lily as she perfected a lemon lavender cookie that sold out faster than we could restock. I existed, loudly, fully, in the quietest way I knew how. But I knew something had changed. The bakery wasn't just a dream anymore, it was a battleground. And like it or not, I was now the villain in someone else's story. She came on a Tuesday, no warning, just stood outside the bakery in jeans and a hoodie like she hoped no one would recognize her. But I knew. I saw it in the way she held her. Shoulders, tight, guarded, bracing for a blow. Lily spotted her through the window. She didn't say a word, just nodded, took Mia by the hand, and went to the back, giving me space I hadn't asked for but desperately needed. I stepped outside, still holding a dish towel. My heart was pounding like I was a child about to be scolded. Rachel looked at me for a long moment. "Hi, Mom," she said. Her voice cracked halfway through like the words had to claw their way out of her throat. And just like that, I saw it. She looked older, tired, like the weight of pretending had finally settled deep in her bones. I didn't hug her. I didn't cry. I just asked, "Do you want tea?" She nodded. We went inside, sat at the corner table while Lily took Mia for a walk. I poured 2 mugs of chamomile like it was just another afternoon. Like this wasn't the first time I'd seen my daughter since everything, the slap, the silence, the wreckage. She didn't touch her tea right away, just stared at it. Then finally, she spoke. "I didn't know what to do that day," she said. "When Jacob hit you, I froze. And then you left. And I thought, maybe you just needed time. But then the ticket, and Lily, and the podcast, it all just..." She stopped, swallowed hard, looked away. I didn't stop him. I should have. I didn't. I had 1,000 things I wanted to say, some of them sharp, some a little softer, but I stayed quiet and let her talk. She said she'd tried everything, calling, emailing, even driving by my house a few times. But when she heard my voice on Lily's voicemail, she figured I didn't want to be found. I told her she was right. It wasn't the slap that made me leave. It was what came after. The silence. A slap stings, sure. But silence? That kind of quiet eats you up from the inside. She wiped her eyes and said, "Jacob's not okay. He's falling apart. Spending money he doesn't have, drinking, blaming everyone but himself. He says you chose her over him." I told her, I didn't choose her over him. I chose truth over pretending. He just ended up on the wrong side of both. Rachel let out a laugh, but it was the kind that sounds more like breaking than joy. Then she surprised me. She said, "I wish I had your strength." I looked at her and saw flashes of who she used to be. The girl who'd braid my hair while I flipped pancakes on Sundays. The moody teen who slammed doors but always came back to say sorry. The tired mom who'd whisper for advice when the babies wouldn't sleep. I didn't fully forgive her, not yet. But for the first time in a long time, I saw her. The real her. The part of her that still belonged to me. When she left, we didn't hug. We just stood there. 2 women carrying too many old wounds. Before walking away, she said, "If you ever want to come back, the door's open. No pressure." I said, "Thank you." And I meant it, even if I wasn't sure I'd ever walk through that door again. Later, Lily came back, Mia asleep on her shoulder. She asked if I was okay. "I think so," I said. Then I picked up a tray of shortbread cookies and got back to work. Because when life starts spinning sideways, sometimes you just bake your way back to steady. We picked the second Saturday in April for our grand opening, not for any special reason, just because we felt ready. Or at least as ready as 2 women running on caffeine and faith could be. We blew up balloons, wrote out a new sidewalk sign that said, "Soft like your grandma's biscuits, bold like her secrets, and baked like our lives depend on it." The line started forming an hour early. First, 2 nurses from the clinic down the block. Then a couple from the next town. They saw us on Facebook. Then a whole family whose cousin had shared our post about the lavender cookies. It was happening. People were coming. The excitement felt real, like the world had finally turned a new page for us. But then I saw him, Jacob, across the street, hands stuffed in his hoodie, pacing like a storm ready to burst. I froze, watching him glare at the bakery like it had done him wrong. I turned back to the register, telling myself he couldn't hurt us anymore. I was wrong. He didn't come inside. Instead, he stood out front filming live on his phone, talking like it was some dramatic expose. This is it. The place she built with stolen money. Betrayal funded this. She replaced her own family with strangers. People started whispering. A few left the line, some just walked away. Lily saw it too. Her face tightened. She asked if we should call the police. Again. I shook my head. Let's just serve the ones who stayed. So we kept going, hands moving fast, smiles getting thinner. The mood had shifted, but we held on. Then a local reporter showed up. Not national, but someone with a following. She said she just wanted to hear both sides. I told her, the ovens are hot, and so is this line. Pick one. I thought that would be the end of it. But that night, there was a segment on the local news. Family Feud bakes into Savannah business. They showed our bakery sign, blurry shots of Jacob yelling, and a freeze frame of me wiping my hands on my apron, looking like the bad guy in someone else's comeback story. I didn't sleep, just sat on the bakery floor, legs crossed, staring at the mixers like maybe they could explain how everything spun out of control. Then something happened I didn't expect. The next morning, a woman I didn't know came in. She looked to be in her mid-60s, kind voice, holding a tray of homemade banana bread. She smiled and said, I saw the news. I know who you are, and I just wanted to say. A woman I didn't even get the name of came in one day, carrying a tray of homemade banana bread. She smiled softly and said, I saw the news. I know who you are. I just wanted to say thank you for not giving up. Then she left the bread on the counter and quietly walked out. That was the first of many. Soon, a pastor and his wife stopped by with a card. A retired teacher dropped off some hand-stitched napkins. One afternoon, a teenage girl came in crying. She said she had watched the news clip and realized her own grandmother deserved better. They didn't just buy cookies or scones. They stayed, talked, took pictures, and shared kind messages online. The next Saturday, our line stretched all the way around the block. The noise outside didn't completely stop. The protests kept going, but we got louder in our own way. Every cookie we sold, every loaf we sliced, every kid dancing to the radio while waiting for a brownie. Those were our answers to the chaos outside. That night, I stood by the front window. My apron was still dusted with flour. I watched Lily, laughing with two regular customers while Mia sat coloring on the floor beside her. And I realized this wasn't about Jacob anymore, or Rachel, or even the past. It was about building something that could last longer than all of that, something that could rise above it. Later, after the bakery closed, I sat alone in the office with a lukewarm cup of tea. The fridge hummed quietly in the background, like music in a life I never imagined having. I had thought about writing a letter to Jacob many times before, but this was the first time it felt like something I really needed to do, not for closure or forgiveness, but to put the last piece of the story where it belonged. I folded a plain sheet of paper in half and started with his name, Jacob. Then I paused, holding my pen above the page, waiting for some sign. There was nothing except my own calm breath, steady and slow, as if it had finally settled inside me for good. I wrote, I didn't leave because you slapped me. I left because you believed you could, and because everyone else thought staying silent was easier than saying no. After that, the words came easier. I told him I was safe, not hiding. I said I didn't pick Lily to hurt him. I picked her because she showed up when no one else did. I wrote, you weren't replaced, you removed yourself. There's a difference. I didn't say I hated him. I didn't say I forgave him. I just told the truth. I hoped one day he'd understand what it means to build something, not break it. I hoped he'd learn to take responsibility without making it a show. And because I knew he'd hear that louder than anything else, I ended the letter with a name he hadn't called me in years. Lala. I folded the letter, sealed it in, an envelope with no return address, just his name on the front. I left it at the counter with a sticky note. Deliver to the kid in the hoodie if he comes back. Then I walked out, not far, just down the block to the park. Mia was chasing pigeons, and Lily sat on a bench sipping coffee, feet kicked up like someone who finally felt like she belonged. I sat beside her, saying nothing, just watching the sunlight hit the sidewalk, making the cracks look like little, golden veins. I thought about all the things I'd lost. Time, years, pieces of myself I gave away freely, and I realized I wasn't bitter. I was full, not just of love or peace or pride, but something stronger. I had built something, not just a bakery, not just a business, but a place where the best parts of me could live without apology. A place where a little girl could grow up believing strong women aren't rare. Where I was more than what they remembered, and so much more than what they forgot. I leaned back, closed my eyes for a moment, and smiled. Not because the pain was gone, but because it didn't own me anymore. I was here. I was home. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.